Hello everyone, I'm at this year's NFR, the National Finals Rodeo. This is the premier rodeo event by the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, better known as the PRCA. The NFR showcases the talents of the PRCA's top 15 money winners in each season for each event. The NFR is held each year at the first full week of December at the Thomas & Mack Center on the campus of the University of Las Vegas, Nevada, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, in Paradise, Nevada. The UNLV and is aired on the Cowboy Channel. This is known as the Cowboy Christmas. They got gift shows. This held there at the Las Vegas Convention Center. I mean, this thing is massive. This is what we call the Super Bowl of rodeo. Hey, this is Charlie. I switched gears from a professionally competing team roper to building my brand in order to educate and inspire. My new website will be the foundation for this new venture, Charly Crawford Training. I will be showcasing the variety of clinics I'm teaching in the upcoming years, opportunities to host one of my clinics, podcasts, videos, articles, gear, and other content on my site, charlycrawfordtraining.com. I need you to head over there and enter your email in the prompt on my new website. That way I can keep you updated on my new offerings and you can stay in the know. That's www.charlycrawfordtraining.com. Get your email in there and keep roping for the pay window. This is our 65th annual NFR. This is the 38th year that it's been held here in Las Vegas, Nevada, except for the 2020 COVID year where it was in Globe Life in Arlington, Texas. This is just massive when I tell you about what this thing brings to this city. You know, cowboy hats to show up this time of year, and it's kind of their dead year. And so this was a great time to have the NFR, where especially it's at the end of the year before Christmas. The marketing was genius. This thing brings 340,000 people to Las Vegas events for what they have calculated. And the UNLV, it's a basketball court. It's the college basketball court is what it's held in. So it only holds 17,000 to 18,000 fans. So this makes it the hardest ticket to get in town. And so what makes this so great for the Cowboys? Well, $14.1 million is added to this event for 10 days, 10 nights. And $9,700,000 is in competition money. So that's spread out through the events. Bareback riding, steer wrestling, team roping, head and anhealing, the bronc riding, calf roping, barrel racing, and bull riding. And so you spend all year trying to get to this event as a team roper or as a rodeo athlete. And so our season will start October 1st of last year. And so we'll go to some of the Texas rodeos because they're still pretty good in the fall. But fall's pretty light. January kicks back off at Odessa, Denver. You go through the winter rodeos, and then you go out west come April, and you go out to California, Clovis, some of the big ones out there. And then you come back to Texas if you're from Texas, and you hit some of the little rodeos around there to get sharp and get ready for Reno. Once Reno starts, it is adults only. That's what Walt Woodard used to say. This is where the men separate from the boys, and it is all in. I remember there were some months between July and August to where I think we counted 5 or 6 days off where we weren't headed to a rodeo or at a rodeo. It is all in. And then it comes down to the end of that year in September 30th or 31st, however those days lie, that's the end of your season. And so it's all year round. It's all you want. And so for a team roper, you get 75 rodeos to count. So what that means is you can go to as many rodeos as you want, but you only get to count 75 rodeos towards your end of the season earnings. And so you can go to 150 rodeos if you want, but you want to be strategic on what rodeos you're going to count to where that money goes towards making the NFR. So a lot of guys, they might go to a few little circuit rodeos or some rodeos and what they call unofficial that money. And so if they want to go and it's a rodeo this close, it doesn't, add as much as some of the bigger ones where maybe you're seasoning a horse or maybe you're going to stay sharp. You can do that. But when it comes down to making that NFR, it's strategic to be able to make sure you keep good notes, because they don't take 16. And you don't get 75, 76 rodeos, which was kind of the drama this year. So it's good. It's important to be able to keep records of what you've been to. And so it's 10 full rounds for 10 days each night if you're a team roper. And so the reason why you're trying to get to the NFR, almost $29,000 they pay to win the round. And it's 6 monies. They pay 6 monies all the way down each round, all 10 nights. Your average or your aggregate. So if you catch all 10 steers, last year they set the single season, or last year they set the time. I think Patrick Smith and Tanner Tomlinson broke the record on 10. I think they shattered it. It was 40 some odd seconds, I think, on 10. So that's averaging 4 seconds a run. Maybe it was even 50. It was held, I think, from 1994 by Jake and Clay, which I think was 59 seconds on 10 steers caught. And so that's a big chunk, 74 grand right there in the average. And that's a 6 monies all the way down in the average it pays as well. And so one of the good things too is in Las Vegas events is they pay you $10,000 to show up. So that helps a lot with guys on getting their credit cards paid off, to get out here, to maybe get to stay in a place that you want, be able to hire help, and give you the best chance to win, or pay off things that accumulated through the season. Archie Keeney, he told me one time when I was a young kid, he said, "Charlie boy, you need to learn what the difference is between making money and making a living." He says, making a living is where you kind of pay your bills, where you can kind of get by. He said, making money, that's where you're able to buy a truck, you're able to buy a horse. There's a big difference. Well, rodeoing through the regular season, from October till September, going to those regular 75 rodeos, that's where you can kind of make a living. You can kind of scrape by a little bit to where you're able to keep the tires fresh on your rig. You're able to make sure you keep the maintenance done on your trailer, the bearings packed, hopefully getting your fuel paid to get to the rodeos, paying your phone bill. Your bills can get as high as what you want, depending if you own your own house and you have your own steers, it can go all down the line. But that kind of scrapes up a living, where you make your money, where you're able to pay off a rig, or you're able to buy land or buy a horse. That is your NFR for a lot of contestants. And so this is a big deal for the contestants right here. And so that $10,000 when you show up is great. That's a huge, huge benefit. They used to take it out of your winnings. So what that was like an insurance policy. I think back in the day it was like $5,000 or $7,500. I forget exactly. Well, then they took that out of what you won. But if you didn't win nothing, at least you made some money. Then it got up to $10,000 and they took it out. And then I think the last few years, now it's $10,000. You get to keep it. So great job, Las Vegas Events. That helps out guys so much. And what a lot of guys do is they'll take that $10,000 and they'll put it towards their tickets. So you'll get one comp ticket. So for me, it would be for Jackie, my wife. Well, then you get a chance to buy 8 tickets for each night. So that's 80 tickets. So a lot of guys, and you'd be able to buy those tickets at face value. And so you would put that 10 grand towards those tickets, and you can give them to your family, or you can sell them, whatever it is you want. They're your tickets. You can do whatever you want. And so the breakaway, it's a little bit different. It's making strides. So we have the breakaway. So since 2020, the breakaway has been a part of the NFR, but it's not in the NFR. And so it's in its building blocks, hopefully, to get to where it could possibly go. And right now it's not quite there yet, but it's at 200,000 added. A lot of the same. It's 10 rounds, but it's only 2 days, as opposed to the NFR is 10 days. So they run 5 rounds each day until they come up with a world champion. But their rounds are $5,000 a round compared to $29,000 a round. 6 monies in each round. And their average is $13,000 compared to $74,000. And they also do pay 6 monies. Now for the breakaway ropers, it's unlimited, the amount of rodeos they can go to. And so that's a lot different than when you limit it at 75 rodeos. A lot of your top guys in the team roping a lot of them will just go to 75 rodeos. They're keeping their good horses working. They're taking that time to get sharper. They're going to jackpots. They're going to places where they can make money and not chasing points. Well, in the breakaway, it's not that. I mean, you're having to go to every single rodeo because you don't feel like if you go to that rodeo, then you're not going to be able to stay in the standings. And so it's basically where the team roping was in the 90s. There was no limit. I think most of the rodeos in the team roping only added half the money. And so you were basically barely just scraping by to hopefully get a chance to make the NFR to pay your bills and maybe buy a horse and things like that. So they're having to start where a lot of us started, back in the early days. And so they get $2,000 just to show up. And then they get one comp ticket. So basically I get a comp ticket to watch Jackie both nights. And then they get a chance to buy 16 tickets. 8 tickets per day, so 16 tickets. So they can use that $2,000 to buy that or whatever it is, maybe. And a lot of all these events too, they also get comped a room. And so, like for the breakaway, they're getting comped rooms at the South Point, which is where the NFR for the breakaway ropers is held. And so they'll comp them a room, which is, like I said, it's great what they do here. But it's just hopefully one day it'll get to where it could go. Because the breakaway roping is the first or second highest event. It's the highest entered event in rodeo. It's right along with the barrels. And so they get the most entries. And, I talked to Jackie and Hope T this morning, and I was like, so what would it mean to you guys to get to the NFR? Like to get to the Thomaston Mac and roping for the same money as the rest of the events. And Jackie, without hesitation, means everything. Means everything for what I have been doing, for what I have been striving for 40 years to get to. It means everything. And so what's interesting too is the fact that the information or some news just dropped this week that the NFR will be held for the next 10 years in Las Vegas. And so we don't know what that means. There was no details dropped. It just said it's going to remain in Las Vegas till I think 2035. Well, there was some speculation that the voting on the rodeo wouldn't be until next year. It was supposed to be this year, but then COVID, supposedly they let them extend to 2025. So that's where the new contracts get signed for the NFR. And so we don't know if the breakaway's in that inclusion. We don't know. What there was interesting to see too is I know Arlington wanted it bad back in Texas. Don't know what all the information is on that. So a lot of stuff is still out there, but I know a lot of breakaway ropers are really staying hooked to see what information is going to drop on if the breakaway is going to be included. And Hope T, she said something about too. She's like, man, it means so much to all the breakaway ropers is that they were able to blaze a trail to be able to get the breakaway in the NFR, in Thomaston Mac, roping for the same money as everybody else. Because a lot of these breakaway ropers, when they grew up, it was just something to get them through college. And then once college came, it was basically getting a job, going to the amateur rodeos, and continuing your passion. But it's not nothing you could make a living at. Very few girls did. And so to be able to see the breakaway in the NFR for these girls would be, it would go back to all the way the Trailblazers, before Larry D, before Jackie, before JJ. There's so many girls that blaze this path to get it there. And to see that generation to be able to see a fruition, to be able to see breakaway ropers at the Thomaston Mac would mean a lot to these girls. Now, I'm not excluding the rough stock events by any means. I'm sticking with what I know. I know team roping, I know a little bit of the timed events, and I know the breakaway very well because I'm married to Jackie Crawford. And so I know a lot of my strengths, so I'm not trying to branch out or not include the other events. And so I'm just sticking with what I know the best. But the one thing that I think everyone should know is that the rough stock side of the arena and the timed event side of the arena, they're both they need each other. The timed event needs the rough stock because the rough stock is what puts butts in seats. And the rough stock needs the timed event is because that's what keeps the association alive, because there's so many ropers, there's so many calf ropers, there's so many steer wrestlers, there's a bunch of them. So that keeps the organization going. So they both need each other. And so, there's always been the talk of, rough stock versus timed events, but there is a little bit, jokingly, but in seriousness and business-wise, they both need each other. And so a little bit of history behind the NFR. The National Finals Rodeo, known as popular as the Super Bowl of Rodeo, is a championship event held annually by the PRCA, founded in 1936 as the Cowboys Turtle Association, then renamed Cowboys Association in 1945, and as the PRCA, the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, since 1975. Established in the NFR in order to determine the world champion in each rodeo event. And so basically the NFR has been going since 1975. And those events were the bareback ride and steer wrestling, saddle bronc riding, tie down, and bull riding. And they've all been part of the NFR since the first one in 1959. So the 1959 was the first NFR. Team roping was added in 1962. Barrel racing was added in 1967. The NFR showcases the talents of the PRCA's top 15 money winners in each event as they compete for the world title. From 1981 through 2000, the bullfighting existed. Then that's when it got started. And so the breakaway roping was started in 2020. That was the first year that the breakaway started. And it was sucked because it was on such a great path to go forward, and then COVID hit. So in 2020, they at least had the breakaway roping. That was the start of it there in Arlington, Texas. But man, it was hitting such a stride. It was no telling where it was going before COVID hit. And so that's when the breakaway started in 2020 as the event held in conjunction with the NFR. The inaugural NFR was held in 1959 in Dallas, Texas, at the Texas State Fair Coliseum, and that continued that venue through 1961. From 1962 to 1964, it was in Los Angeles, California, at the Los Angeles Sports Arena, hosted in competition, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It was successfully bid in 1964. And in 1965, the first NFR in the State Fair Arena, it drew 47,000 fans. The NFR remained in Oklahoma City through 1978. From 79 to 1984, the NFR took place in Oklahoma City's at another arena, I think the Merid Convention Center, bringing the state merchants estimated annual revenue of $8 million. In 1984, Las Vegas put in a bid to have it here in Las Vegas. Although Oklahoma City Council considered building a new $30 million arena at the state fairgrounds, the Las Vegas bid won. Since 1985, the NFR has been held at the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. The NFR has become the Thomas & Mack Center Arena's biggest client, bringing home more than 170,000 fans in the 10-day event. And now it's up to, I think the last thing I've seen was up to 340,000. The NFR has held a different number of rounds throughout the years, and so it's that's what makes this thing so big. And it's interesting knowing the stats behind it. I know in 2014 there was Dallas and Kissimmee, Florida made some big bids, and then somehow Las Vegas Events won, and then so they must have had more money added to bring it back here. And then in 2020, because of COVID, it was in Arlington, Texas. Then now I believe the news has dropped that it's going to be back here again for 10 more years. We'll find out all the details on that later. So we're excited to see what details are held in that new contract. But for the Cowboys, just the preparation behind this is just for the team roping. We'll build at home. We'll build the same dimensions as the Thomas & Mack. And so we'll measure for, I think it's 55 feet from the middle of the pre-foot chute to the left fence. And it's a 10-foot wide box, a 16 deep box, and the start is 4 foot under. And so we'll make runs in that, and we'll build that arena at home. I think it's, between 40 feet, a little over 40 feet from the left of the box to the left fence. So all those little details matter of hitting that start and being able to get it on as short amount of rope as possible and be able to come back up the pin right there and find the corner of that arena to give you the most arena right there where you can finish facing. And it's the reason why people build that arena at home is because a tenth of a second can be thousands of dollars in that arena. So you want everything tight, and it all sets up with the run. Because if you're late, then you got more rope out there, and it's harder to get finished, and it takes longer. So you're wanting to hit that start, get it on as fast as you can as a header, and be able to get them on the shortest amount of rope as possible and find those angles. And it's hard for a heeler. These steers are full contact. They are all there. They're fresh, they're strong, and so when you rope them, it's hard to get those steers sometimes to still handle because they're still fresh. What I mean by fresh is they still don't know how to handle when the header's pulling them across the arena. They're still not balanced quite yet. And so to find that first hop as a heeler sometimes can be very, very difficult. So it's very, very important for the header to be able to have as much control in that corner as possible where you can keep them steers balanced through that corner so that heeler can read that first or second hop. Because you don't want to go much past 3 hops in that arena, otherwise you get in the wall, makes it a very hard finish. Takes a lot of time out of your run. And for a heeler it's really hard because, man, to get that start and get around that steer, it's very, very hard for a heeler to outrun that rope. And so you're trying to get as good a start as you can without shoving the steer left, but still being able to get around that corner right there and be able to get around those legs to be able to catch 2 feet. So there's a lot to be able to rope an inside of basically it's a basketball court. So you're roping inside of a basketball court, so there is so many little details that these guys practice throughout the year. And I'm telling you, it's awesome too just to see on social media some of their practice sessions, because I actually built the arena at home just like the NFR. So Jackie's arena on the breakaway side is the same measurements as the NFR, width, the boxes, everything. It's just longer. That way she can breakaway in it. But when I would practice for the NFR, I'd get in that arena, and that way I had enough arena where if I need to free my horses up. But it was set up just like the NFR. Well, like Luke Brown, you can't get the hillbilly out of him, and so he'll just put up round bells on the left side of the fence. So he'll measure out where 55 feet is from the middle of that pre-first shoot, and he'll just start stacking up round bells right there, so that way he knows where his fence is. And so there you get to see some pretty creative ways that guys measure their arenas out. And for me, I went and bought a neck rope. So I had a barrier pulled. I measured it 4 foot under, and I would just make runs and make runs. And so it takes a lot of help to get ready in the team roping for the NFR. You have to have someone pulling a barrier. You got to see if someone getting the steers up, working the chutes. We used to rope and then just let our ropes go and come back and run another one. We could make so many runs so fast to where as soon as you rope, someone already took off the rope, they're warming up your next horse, they're handing you the rope, you go back in the box, make another run. You can get 10 reps in real fast. And so you're just trying to develop that muscle memory. It's because when you get here, it's real demanding on what you have to do. The breakaway ropers, I think it's 15 foot 9 depth box, 10 foot wide, and I think it's 3 foot under. And so the neck rope will pull, for the team roping, it's 2 foot under what the measurement is where they put the rope out there on the ground in front of the chute. The neck rope will pull 2 foot less than that string right there because of where the neck rope breaks. The calf roping the breakaway is a foot and a half behind that line. But the preparation that you have to get out here, you want to be so tight. You want it to where you can make that run in your sleep. Because when you get out here, it's hectic. You start out here, you get here on a Monday, and get your horses situated wherever you're keeping them. They got stalls here in Las Vegas, events where you can keep them there. A lot of people keep them outside of here where they can get better stalls, where they can move around a little bit more. There's a lot of different strategies that people use. But on Tuesday morning, for the team ropers, that's when they run the steers through. So they'll bring 60 head of steers, and you'll run them steers through on Tuesday, and I think they run them through twice. That way you can see what steers are fitting what herd. So they have 3 sets of 20. And so out of those 30 steers, or out of those 60 steers, excuse me, you're trying to find 45 of them where you can set them in each set. So there's 3 sets. So your first set is your strongest set of steers. And those steers will go in the first round, the 4th round, I believe the 8th round, and the 10th round, I believe. So they'll go through those first set. Those steers will go the most. They'll go 4 times, and so that way, the strongest ones get roped the most. Now your middle pen, your middle steers, they're just a nice set of steers. Those will go in the 2nd round. So those are like your medium set of steers. They'll go in the 2nd round, I believe the 5th round, and then on down the line. And those will go 3 times. And then your 3rd set of steers, those are your softer ones. Those are the jelly. Those are the good ones right there. And so those steers right there go in the 3rd round, the 6th round, and the 9th round. And they only go 3 times. But that's why you'll see a lot of record-breaking times in that 9th round, because those steers are just so good. You can just tee off on them. And that's where you'll see a lot of records being broke, a lot of really fast times in that 9th round. But that's how they set the steers in the team roping. Strong, medium, and soft. And so that's what Tuesday is. So you'll get to get a feel, a little bit of what it's like to rope in that yellow arena. Get a feel of what horse you like. But you try not to go at them as much as just kind of getting a feel of where the arena is and see what the steers are. And then once you get everything put up, then after that, the back number ceremony is Tuesday night. So it's that night. That's special. That's so special for a lot of contestants. That's, for the first one, that's the thing you've been dreaming of your whole life. That's special. You know, everyone gets dressed up. It's a it's a big deal to be in that, to get that back number especially for the very first time. Now for the veterans, it means a lot because that means you can pay your bills. You know, a lot of sponsorship bonuses that are in your contract are amplified if you make the NFR. So there's a lot of bonuses. So that means right there that you're able to pay off credit cards, maintain your mortgage, whatever it is. It's a lot of added money that you can make right there just making the NFR. And then Tuesday. That's Tuesday. So then Wednesday is the check-in. So you check in for the Thomas and Mack, get everything checked in, get your headshots. And then later that morning is the grand entry. That's when you practice for the grand entry. You ride behind your state flag. A lot of guys ride behind their state flag from where they're from. Like I rode behind Oregon for 9 times until the 10th round. After my dad had passed away, I just took on Stephenville, Texas. That was my address. You know, that's where I lived. So I took on Texas after that. But my first 9 years, I'm an Oregonian. I was from Oregon. And so a lot of guys, they'll ride from where they're from and represent that state flag. And so we practice, ride behind that state flag and practice in the grand entry and where we line up. And it's pretty entertaining. That is a lot of entertainment. You'll see some of the bronc riders and the bareback riders. Bareback riders don't ride in the grand entry because they're the first event. Because when that last flag drops after the grand entry, them bareback riders are ready to go. They bust the chutes open and they get that thing going. So your bronc riders, they're still, a lot of them guys, they haven't even gone to sleep yet. They have been out since the back number ceremony, and they might just show up from where they got done partying. Some of them I've even seen Jack Daniels still in their hands even as they're going through the grand entry. Like, it's a good time. It's not safe either because you better make sure your head stall has a chin strap on it because they're trying to pull your head stalls off during the grand entry. They're cutting each other's cinches. You know, they're trying to get each other bucked off. Like, it's cowboy. You know, it's fun. It's a pretty good time. And then after that, then you're done. You got a chance to recoup, go ride your horse, get your mind right. Maybe that, you know, you might be able to go take your family, go kind of decompress for just a little bit, because once Thursday starts, it's on. It's time to get ready. And after that, it can get pretty hectic as well. That's when, you might get, for me, I would get up that morning, work out, get some breakfast, and then I knew it was going to be a long day ahead of me, because there might be days where I have to sign I have signed autographs twice for 2 different sponsors. So you might have to go to one convention center that morning, sign till noon, and then, try to jump in a rent-a-car, Uber, or taxi after that, go to another convention center, and then sometimes in the convention center you're trying to get lunch, so then you're sitting in front of 38 people that are telling you, what you should have did the night before, what horse you probably should have rode, what your partner could have did better, the fact that your wife ropes better than you, all the good things you want to hear as you're just trying to get some lunch. And you'll get a lot of advice out there when you're trying to sign autographs. Well, then you go to the second place to go sign autographs. Well, then you might be orchestrating times with your partner to where you can maybe get some practice in after the second autograph session before the rodeo that night. So you're trying to get your helper lined out to where he can go get the horses, and when you get done sign autograph for that second time, you jump in a rent-a-car, Uber, or taxi, and jump out there to where you're going to be able to run a few practice steers, and maybe you got 2 horses where maybe you're freeing your good horse up for whatever he needs, scoring, freeing him up, whatever he needs, and you got 45 minutes to ride 2 horses. And so you'll score, do whatever on your good one, and then your backup horse, you might just be making some runs just to try to get that run back and developed again. But you got to be real careful on where you're going to make sure the steer is kind of fit for what you're doing. Because I've also messed that up too, and went to some places where the start wasn't the same, the steers weren't the same, and it actually threw me off. So it's very important to have pretty close practice to what you're about to experience. I know Trevor and Patrick back in the day, they used to haul a set of steers out there for their places where they stayed, and they had the box measured up the same kind of dimensions, and they made sure when they were able to go sharpen up before the rodeo, everything was the same. They brought steers, they were very prepared. Well, then after that, you got 45 minutes to do that, and so then after that, you jump in a rent-a-car, Uber, or taxi, go back to wherever your hotel is, jump in the shower, get suited up, can't forget your back number, because you can't get nowhere without that back number. And so usually I think the rodeo used to start at 6:45 if I remembered right. I think it's 5:45 now. But either way, you'd get there at a certain time when the draw, I think for me, it was like 5:15 or something like that. And so we'd jump in a rent-a-car, Uber, or taxi from my hotel to the rodeo office to go see what you got drawed. And so I've always wanted to be there when the number drops. When I see what I got, I want to be right there. That way I can go either see who has already had them and what round, or I have a video of them through run-throughs when we were watching the steers, breaking them in on Tuesday, or running them through on Tuesday. So that way, once I get that done, then I walk back down the alley, go down the tunnel, and go and look and see what my steer looks like. Like, I want to take a picture of them. I want to see what those horns look like. Do they come up? Do they go flat? Do they come out and around? Do they come out and up? Are they small? Are they big? Those are all different size lays of loops, different lays of ropes that I might be having right there. Because if they're big, giant horns, which it can be, like, I'm probably going to want a soft. If they're nice medium horns, which is, kind of somewhat of a good set of horns, then I know I want an extra soft rope. And so all those little things kind of play into the factor. Well, then if those steers have already went during one of the rounds, that's when we'll come back, go back underneath the tunnel and go underneath the UNLV to the media room, where we can watch our steers. So then once we're watching, what we're watching for is, how did that steer break? Did he go with the gates? Was he behind the gates? Did he stall behind the gates? All that dictates, is the start sets up the whole run in there, in every event. And so that start is very important. I want to know how he breaks. Okay, well, after that, what pattern does he have? Does he step left? Does he go straight? Does he step to the right? If anything there, I want him straight or to the right. That way I have enough arena right there, and they hit better when they do that. If they kind of roll left, it's harder to get that steer to hit, and it's harder for the heeler to get around them to be fast enough. And so I like mine straighter to the right. That way I can make them hit faster for the heeler, and I still got plenty of room to face. Then after that, okay, how does he handle? When you rope him, does he push around the end of it? Does he hit the end of it, which is what you want? Does he come underneath the rope? Does he hit wide? All those things vary, and all the different strategies is what you're trying to do to make a run when you're roping for $29,000 a night. And so after you get done seeing that in your video of the run, well, now you walk from there back to your trailer, which is not quite a mile, but it's a pretty good little jaunt. So in that process of when you're walking back to your trailer, you're on the phone with your partner. What strategies are you going to make? How are you going to make it to where you guys make the best run that you guys have practiced, where you can kick that steer's ass for $29,000 that night? Or if you're staying in the average, is he an average type steer? What I mean by that is maybe he's a little bit stronger for the herd. Maybe he doesn't fit that herd to where maybe it's just a run where you're just trying to survive and just stay in the average. Or if you're out of the average, you're trying to figure out how to make that steer worth 29 grand. And so there's a lot to it. And then you walk back to your trailer, it might be 6 o'clock, 6:15 if the rodeo starts at 6:45, and you got a chance to catch your breath. And you're like, then you've got to remember why I'm here. Now I've got to remember I've spent 365 days to get to this point right here. Because you can forget why you're there a lot of times because it's so hectic and all the things that go on. And so that's when I'll rope the dummy. I'll get my mind right. I might have a Core Vive drink. Just something to where I can relax. They have focus drinks. I try to stay hydrated. They have a hydrated drink out here because it's so dry out here. So you're just trying to get your mind right. You're trying to get you mentally prepared. So that way you can block out everything, all the distractions from the day to make sure that now it's time for business. Now it's time to remember what you're there for. So that's where you wouldn't see me talk a whole lot because I'm trying to stay in that mind frame. Some people, they like to talk, they like to visit. That keeps them relaxed. For me, it gets me distracted. So I was always a lot better with, I was pretty quiet, focused on the run I was wanting to make, kind of get that preload of the run I was trying to make, that we've been practicing. And so that was kind of our strategy. And so when we walk down that tunnel, go down in that little alley right there, well, you might be sitting there for 10 minutes as a steer wrestling's going on, and you're just sitting there in probably a 3-foot, 4-foot wide little alley, and it's hard to get your rope swung. It's hard to swing that rope. It's hard to even move. So you're kind of dead. So when you walk in that box, especially if you're one of the last teams out, like you've been sitting in that alley for a pretty good little while. Your horse's heart rate's down. Your heart rate's down. It's hard to get amped up for something that's could happen in 3 to 4 seconds. And so I've started studying breathing techniques to where that way when I got in the box, like I had oxygen in my brain, I had oxygen in my blood, my arms, everything. So in that way I felt ready. That's what made me, that's what helped me. And so there's a lot to just getting ready for that NFR. And man, it was some of my best memories. For me as a kid, this was it. This was what I got ready for my whole life. This was something I watched as a young kid. My stepmom actually used to go to the rodeo. My dad never missed a perf. He was a huge rodeo fan. And so Ann, she would video on the old VHS recorder. She'd video all the runs. And, we'd be able to watch some of the runs during, on the old ESPN days. But there'd be times they didn't show everyone. So Ann, she videoed every single run. So when they came back, I was so excited we got to put it in the VHS tape, and I get to watch every single run. And so as a young kid, if you're passionate about it, you watch every single run. And, that's where you develop that passion. And for me as a kid, when those guys would come to our house, those guys were rock stars to me. They were celebrities. I grew up in Canby, Oregon, and so during the Canby Rodeo or the St. Paul, Oregon Rodeo, a lot of them guys would come to our house, and when you're looking at some Bobby Hurley's, the Alan Bach's, the Charles Pogues, Leo Camarillo was at the house, Mike Beers and his partner between D. Pickett, Matt Tyler, all those guys, T. Woolman, watching them guys on TV, Jake and Clay era. Those guys were celebrities. And because of the NFR, what that brought, the world titles, the average titles, all the things that they brought, and all those wins. I remember the house that Joe built in Las Vegas, Nevada. That was Joe's house. And the rivalries between Joe Beaver and Roy Cooper and Fred Whitfield, Cody Ohl, Brent Lewis making those strikes in there. And, those were things I remembered as a kid. Ty Murray era, it was the greatest cowboy to ever live on the rough stock, to watching the Et Bowers compete there, and just all the memories of everything growing up that made that thing so great. Charmaine James in the barrel racing on Scamper, as the head stall I think fell off, she was making runs, and just all those memories that went on in that arena growing up. The best one I remember was Bobby Hurley and Alan Bach when they won the last 5 rounds in the team open in Las Vegas, and Alan Bach won the world title. Oh, that was amazing. Well, then, I remember one year as a 1998. Well, that was my rookie year. And so in 1998, I got to sneak in there. I got to, so I won Rookie of the Year, and I wasn't there to get my hat and my gift certificate. I was still taking finals because I went to college in Arizona. Well, when I come back, when I got my finals done, I come back through Arizona or through Las Vegas because that was the way to get back home to Oregon. So when I came back in there, I went and got my hat, went and got my check. I think it was for $2,000 from Resistol, and my buckle. My buckle I wore. I loved that buckle. And that was one of my goals, was to win that Rookie of the Year. Well, when I went and picked all that stuff up, I was able to sneak in and go watch the rodeo. And I think that was the round night where I watched, I believe it was Marty Becker, I think, went 7 flat in the calf roping, and I snuck behind the curtain. I didn't get to go sit down. I just kind of watched it from behind the curtain. And I think Marty Becker went 7 flat in the calf roping. And then I think Blair Burke went 6-9 in the calf roping. And Jeff Chapman, and I don't know if that was exactly how it was, but I just remember it was 7 flat, 6-9, and then Jeff Chapman came back and was 6-8 in the calf roping. And when I'm telling you, that roof just blew off. Oh, it was the coolest feeling. That was the coolest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And that just made it that much more focused on, this is what I'm going to do. I've got to get to this NFR. This is something I've always dreamed of doing, and I wanted to be there so bad. And I remember when I went to school in Arizona and I drove through Las Vegas on the way to Oregon, I remember the exit number was 37. When you drive off I-15, it was exit 37 to get to the NFR. And so I kept that written on a little sticky note on my truck, 37, exit number 37. Like, that's what kept me drove. That's what kept me going the whole time. I wanted to get off that exit and turn right and go over there to the UNLV stadium there in Thomas and Mack. You know, that was a big deal. That was something that when I was shoeing horses or tacking shoes on or going broke, I just kept that number 37 in my mind and written down where that was the goal. And so in 2005, I finally make it. I finally get there. And, you know, I remember getting to prepare for that NFR in 2005. Oh, that was special. I remember I was living in Tyler Magnus's place, and we built the NFR arena out in his pasture. And we built up the exact same dimensions as the NFR. And he's out there coaching me and Richard Durham, and we're getting ready for it. And I remember talking about, like, man, the steers are ready. I'm not ready for it. You know, I don't have my rope up. He's like, well, why aren't you cocking it? I've never cocked my rope before in my life, before my first NFR. So I'm learning how to cock my rope. I'm trying to find the timing. And, you know, it was just, man, you talk about not prepared, you know, in so many ways. But I was like, oh, that's why they cock it there. You know, I'm learning as I'm going. But man, it was so much fun. I remember me and Richard Durham, we even practiced the grand entry before our first NFR. And I got there in 2005. I remember doing a dirt angel in the head box. I got there early, and I wanted to do a dirt angel. I told my little kid self that was one thing I wanted to do. I remember that, and you know, getting to ride in that grand entry for the first time. And I still remember riding that box for the first time. Like, I rode in the back of that box behind that tunnel, and I ride in the box, and I'm looking up, and I can still see the pyro smoke over the top of the arena from the pyro from the grand entry, and you can barely see the top of the stands. And it was just, oh, it was so surreal. It's like a dream. And you look over to the left and you see that big camera that, you know, oh, everybody's seeing me. That's the camera that I look through watching this event, you know. So I know me on the other side of this, every little kid's watching this. And just the dirt, and it was like nothing I had ever seen. Because it's a lot bit different when we're running the steers through. They don't turn the lights on full effect. Well, when this rodeo's on, I've never seen anything like this. It was so bright. It was so surreal. And I had to tap myself on the shoulder in my inside of my head going, hey, Chuck, you got to rope a steer. Oh, yeah. I forgot. You know what I mean? I got caught up in the moment so much. It was like being a fan of this my whole life. And then all of a sudden, now I'm actually here. This is not a dream. This is real. I nodded my head. Next thing I knew, I was taking my rope off the back end. I couldn't even remember my first run. It was so fast. And that week went so fast. Like, it's amazing how fast it goes. You know, it's the 5th round, then it's the 7th round, and all of a sudden it's the 10th round, and it's over. It's done. And when it's done, like, oh, in a couple more weeks now we got to go to Odessa. It starts back over again. It's like, that's why they call it false idols in the Bible. It's amazing. It goes so fast. Like, that was my dream my whole life, and those 10 days went so fast. But just all the knowledge I gained on that first NFR, you know, learning how difficult it was roping in a basketball court, learning how to cock that rope. You know, it took me a long time to get good in that arena. And so then finally, after 62 rounds later, I finally win my first round at the Thomas and Mack Arena in 2013. And, oh, that was sweet. That was sweet. Oh, finally. I finally did it. And I remember calling my best friend Garrett Jess as I was going down the tunnel, and the last team went, and I called him. He wasn't able to make it. He was, I think his brother's wedding was maybe in Mexico or something like that. And I called him. He goes, "Hey, Chuck, how'd it go?" I said, "Man, I finally did it." Nobody ran more steers behind me practicing for the NFR than Garrett Jess. He was my practice guy, and you know, we had been talking about how this was going to happen and when this is going to finally play out, and I finally did. And I call him. I said, "Man, I finally did it. I finally made it." He goes, "All right." He goes, "How's the victory lap?" I said, "I don't know. I'm about to take it. I'm about to ride through the arena. I just want to let you know I won my first round." And I hung up the phone, put it in my pocket, went out there and took my victory lap. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see where I'm putting my phone in my pocket as I'm going down that victory lap. And I can't believe I didn't get fined that year, because that was the slowest victory lap that anybody's probably ever made in the Thomas and Mack Arena, because I wanted to take it all in. I had my horse almost to a walk. He was at the slowest trot. And I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like. Oh, I wanted to take it all in. And I made the slowest victory lap ever. It was so much fun. It was such a great feeling. It was something I'll never forget. Another thing I won't ever forget, too, is as we're going down there, and me and Ryan Moats, we're going down there and we're doing all the interviews. There's 10 different places right there where you're probably doing interviews and talking about your run and this and that. Well, I get done. This is how naive I was. I said, "All right, Moatsy, see you at the Gold Coast." Moatsy goes, Whoa, Chuck. Where are you going?" "See you at the Gold Coast." "Chuck, they ain't had a back number ceremony at the Gold Coast since like 1985 or something, like 1990, whatever it was, a long time ago." I said, "Well, where is it?" He goes, "It's at the South Point, dude." He goes, "Is this your first time?" I said, "Well, it's my first NFR win, other than when I used to win go-round after go-round on my cowboy toy at home, when I was at the Gold Coast, back when I was winning rounds, getting ready for the NFR, the buckle ceremony was at the Gold Coast. Well, now it's at the South Point." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, good thing you told me. I'd have been at the wrong place." How dumb would that have been? And so I remember that. Just all those memories right there. And I bought that steer. That was my 62nd round before I won my first round at the NFR. I named that steer Finally. I still have him at my house now. And there were so many memories, between now and then. My rent-a-car. I was notorious for my rent-a-car excursions. I think, I don't know how many I've blown up. A lot. I've wrecked a couple. One for sure. There's these launching pads, what I call them, behind the UNLV campus. They're speed bumps, but I call them launching pads. Man, you can catch some decent air off these things, and I used to go jump those things. I never thought I'd make it more than once or twice, so when I got to the NFR, I wanted to make the most of it, and I loved rent-a-cars. It was the one time where I didn't have to worry about wrecking my own stuff, and so I would pull the e-brakes, I'd gun at every single green light, I'd slam on the brakes at every red light, I loved it. It was that time where you got to be a little kid. And so I was notorious for blowing up rent-a-cars and jumping them and, just being a retard. It was my chance to be a NASCAR driver. And so I remember all those memories, and I remember my last NFR. My last NFR was special. My first NFR was the most special, but my last one, that one was really, really special. That was my last NFR. My wife was competing at the NFR. It was her first NFR breakaway chance right there to get to rope at the NFR. They actually had it in the same building. It was just at a different time. that was special for both of us. It was my way out. She was on her way in. My kids were there. Journey was about to be born. It was so special. Cadence was there. I won the 7th round, was actually able to have her with me during some of the autograph signings, the interviews, things like that, like where she could see it, see all my hard work paying off of what, I'd been doing throughout my whole life, and the experiences she could see and the opportunities she could experience. And it was special. Creed, he was still rocking and rolling. He was able to see it. He was able to be there in my last NFR. But Journey, that was very special. The reason why we named her Journey, because that was our new journey. My new journey was going out of the arena and trying to build what I was trying to build, what I'm trying to build now. Jackie's new journey of now with breakaways coming in. Now let's see if she can get it now to the NFR, in the NFR. And then she wins the world with Journey in her belly at 6 months pregnant. So Journey was there. Journey won a world title before she was even born. It was just such a memorable year. I bought that steer that I won round 7 in, and I named him Done. And he's out in my pasture. I got finally and done. So I'm finally done. And so that was my 10th NFR, and man, what a cool experience to be able to experience that with my wife. And it was pretty cool too, because that was in Arlington, Texas. And I was one of 15 headers to ever rope at the NFR in that arena. So that was pretty cool as well. Whether or not it ever gets back to Arlington is hard to say, but it probably stays in Las Vegas events for a really long time. But that was pretty cool to be able to experience something different. And now I'm here and back in Las Vegas, 2023. I'm here supporting my wife. It's a hectic week. Obviously, you guys know kind of what goes behind it. I've been trying to get some stuff in my stories on Facebook and Instagram to keep up with what we're doing every day. And she's running the calves through, but it's just a 2-day event for her. And then she missed her calf last night in the 5th round to go to the lead in the average. The calf ran through it, didn't get a very sharp loop around his neck, and he ran through it. Otherwise, she would have taken the lead in the average. And that was her goal before this week started. That's what we've been practicing for all week, was to get ready to choose. Her goal is to win that average. That is a tough buckle to win, because there's so many things that can go wrong. One little mistake, and if you rope for the average, and all of a sudden if you go out in the 8th, 9th round, well, there's a lot of money that got passed up along there. And so to just rope for the average is hard, because something could happen. One little thing, a front leg or a tail or a hickeyed horn or any little thing can happen right there in the 9th round. All of a sudden all that money left. And so a lot of guys just rope like they rope and try to scratch in rounds and let the average take care of itself. So there's a lot of different strategies that kind of go. But her goal was win that average. And gosh dang, she ended up missing last night to take the lead on 5. Today is a 6th through the 10th round for her. And now we're going to be changing some horses, a little bit different strategy. Now she's got a chance for 25 grand, $5 grand each round. There's 5 rounds left. So she's got a shot at 25 grand today. And so she's going to be going at them right now. And then after that, we take tomorrow off. Thursday is going to, we're taking Creed and Journey to the Shark Tank, and we're going to go sightsee, and then tomorrow night, I think we're going to go watch the rodeo. Never sat in the stands and watched all the events before from the stands. So tomorrow's a memorable moment for me, just being able to be a spectator and to take it all in. And I'm excited for it. And then she has Friday and Saturday. She has her rope for the crown roping. Qualifier will be for Friday, and then Saturday is her big event where she has rope for the crown and the breakaway. And then I'll fly back home Sunday, take the kids to school. But man, this is exciting. This is why there's so much pressure and so much excitement here in Las Vegas, especially for the Cowboys. This is what makes your year. This is what you've been after it all year for. This is the Super Bowl of it. So I'm excited to see who gets off on the right foot. You get off on the right foot here, those are the guys that got a shot to win the world. I've seen a lot of guys from 15th just get on a hot streak and continue and win the world. And I've seen some guys coming in first that are just trying to stay safe, and they drop the ball. There's a lot of pressure coming in first. And so, man, there's so many strategies. Can they hold the world title? Can they hold their lead? Or who's going to get off on that right? And then, too, if you get off here on the wrong foot, that's where that mental game comes in. Ooh, boy, it can turn into quicksand here like real fast. And I've been on that side of it, too. And, there's so many things to overcome, because when you're doing it 10 rounds, 1 each night, when you make that run, you've got 23 hours and 59 more minutes before that next one. And then the same thing again. So there's a lot of time to think about it before each run. And boy, it's amazing if you get off on the wrong foot where that mind can go 23 hours, 59 minutes later. Or if you're in the average, boy, it just, that pressure each round, each day. There's a lot of guys that don't sleep. You know, a world title right there in the race. You know, you're playing all these things in your mind. And so, man, it's a lot of pressure for Cowboys, and it's fun, and it's impactful, and it's great for fans. As you know, I mean, just so many exciting moments that happen here, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait to get my seat and watch, and to see who brings home the gold, and who wins the averages, and who just gets on a hot streak in those rounds, and who makes a lot of money and makes their life better. And I'm rooting for all these guys. I've been there, and it's exciting.